was that the doctor that they had me go see for that was a quack. And I told them that she was a quack. I told the insurance, I was like, she's a quack. So they sent me to another doctor, and that doctor was like, dude, your back is messed up. I was like, yeah, I know. That's what I've been saying. And he's like, well, here, take these pain pills and come in for PT. And I went up to the lodge and the insurance. I said, see, I told you. That first lady say in my head, second doctor put hands on my back and said, your back is jacked up. Like, I'm crazy for thinking you electrocuted me. My back's messed up. But I'm the idiot here.
Yeah, for sure. You're the dummy butt, dude.
I'm always the dummy butt. That's the problem. That's why I got electrocuted.
That's why you got electrocuted, because you weren't paying attention.
I turned on the light and they went, oh. And they said, are you okay? And I said, yeah.
I mean, not really, but I guess.
That's okay. I was like, can be.
Dude, I remember I was so freaked out. I was like, what the I was like, because I think it was the way that Diane had come up, and she was like, oh my God, something happened to Brennan. I was like, oh my God. What the hell, dude? I thought you were like dead.
And then when you come in the back and you see me like my shirt's unbuttoned, they're sticking a little.
I was like, what the hell? And I remember they were like, yeah, just pull your truck up over here. That way you guys go home.
I feel like Darth Vader at the end of episodes. Take my mask off so I can see you one time with my own eyes.
You're just a former shell of yourself, and you're just like
like that little alien from Men in Black. When they...
Yeah. Oh no.
We're back at it, though, B.
We're back at it. Welcome back to the Bruising Bros podcast. This is episode number, I think 11, 12, somewhere in there.
I don't keep track of the numbers. I just show up so I don't get fined.
Well, and it's funny is when I save them onto the computer, I number them, but they don't. They're titled like on like YouTube or Spotify or whatever, and it's like that's the title of the episode. And so
we be getting too creative with them titles.
It's way too creative.
But they're fun. Dude.
They are fun. So just to kind of catch everybody up, that intro is more so just a kind of a personal story between the two of us about a place that we both used to work at, but.
I got electrocuted.
But he did get electrocuted, and I'm trying to figure out a way to segue this, but it's too late now because I already said the word segue. So
segues are like our go-to word.
But you know, watching wrestling stuff, I don't know. I'm actually, now that I think about it, this is a good segue. It had nothing to do with electrocution. But it was a pay-per-view event when I was a kid for like, it wasn't like the Extreme Wrestling, but it was probably like ECW or something like that, where like they would make like the ropes, instead of like ropes, it would be like barbed wire.
Yeah, it was weird because I don't know if ECW was like its own thing, because with when I was able to like when I was allowed to watch wrestling, by the point that which my mom said, okay, you can watch it, ECW was a part of the WWE, so it was a little bit different. It was like Monday was Raw, Tuesday was ECW, and then Friday was SmackDown. And then the rest of the days of the week were just, you know, jerk off until Sunday. Sunday would be a pay-per-view at the end of every month.
Yeah, and so, but we were at the house, and my dad had a friend over, and she was like, oh my God, like, you know, and I think it's one of those things that like watching like that Vice documentary on the extreme wrestling that exists like in the backwoods of the countries.
Isn't it cool?
Dude, it's gnarly, dude. Like, have you ever seen videos of that where it's like they're like taking those like fluorescent light bulbs and they're just like smashing them and the dudes are just bloodied up.
Yeah,
and like you like
what was it, 1,000 Ways to Die?
Yeah, and you just like it's super crazy because watching one of the interviews, the guy was like, he's like, man, a lot of people here don't understand how we can take this amount of pain and how we can just like day in and day out or week after week or whatever it was, just come in here and just have our bodies mangled like this. But he's like, I enjoy it. He's like, I enjoy. I don't know. I can't remember if he necessarily, like the guy that they were talking to, said that they enjoyed the pain necessarily, or he particularly enjoyed the pain, but it's just it's fun.
Another day at the office.
Dude, for real, but it's like, could you imagine like your day at the office is getting a bag full of thumbtacks, or like
I can tell you what it's like to get a body full of some volts. Out of commission. Back's all messed up. So now I know there's people out there that are jumping on the tacks, getting barbed wire to the face, and they're like, another day at the office. Now they're like a puss boy.
Yeah, I've actually been cut up by barbed wire, and it had nothing to do with the military. Believe it or not, I was actually hopping the fence from our school into Kissing Camels because Bryce had left to go get the golf cart so he could go pick us up because he didn't have enough room in his car to go pick us back up. And he was like, dude, he's like, once I get home, he's like, I'm not gonna want to drive back out there. So he's like, I'll just swing around with the golf cart and I'll pick you guys up. And so we literally had to go into the back corner of the football field by that weird like ropes course looking thing. And we literally had to hop the barbed wire fence. And I remember I cut up the shorts that I was wearing. I had this huge foot. It wasn't like a gash or anything, but I had this huge cut on my leg. But since I was wearing shorts and those, being in high school, you don't really bring clothes over to school to go spend the night at someone's house.
Just go to your gym locker, get the PE clothes out.
And I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna explain that. And I think it was like that was when I started like not just like I was like, oh yeah, we hopped the fence because it was kind of cool. I'd never hopped a fence into a gated community before.
Well, now you're a criminal.
And now I'm a criminal for sure. Like, dude, honestly, I think had security caught us, they probably would have been like, "What are you guys doing?"
Had they caught you, I feel like you're like the back of your pants would have got stuck. You would have had a wedgie on the barbed wire.
Oh man,
they would have been getting you down with one of those little poles, like, "Come here, boy."
Yeah, I probably would have run away. I would have probably finished hopping into the golf course, into the place, and I would have been like, "Oh man, I gotta go," and I would just start running.
Well, two things. First thing is, I wish I was rich enough to say I don't want to drive back out there. I'll get the golf cart and pick you up. And second thing, yeah, the barbed wire looks like it's very painful, but I watched some of the other stuff that's not the extreme stuff, the WWE stuff and all that crazy jazz. And they be going up on them ladders and they jump off, and like oh boy style lands on other dude's neck through a table, and I'm like, bro, I don't care if it's fake. That's gotta hurt if you jump off 30 feet in the air and your leg dropping on some dude, even if you landed on your straight booty cheeks. You imagine that 30 feet cheek to the ground?
And what's crazy is they do that every day.
And they're never even bruised up. They're like, check this out. Jump in the air, swanton. They start spinning. They land on the other dude, and the other dude goes, whoa! And then next week he's like, yeah, I'm here. Bro, if you were to jump in the air, spin like 360, whatever, 180, 720, however much you got to get your back to land on me, and then you pin me for the 3 count, dude, I'll be in a coma.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm not getting up.
I would no, and I get maybe it's because it's the whole we're trained professionals thing. I'm not about that.
How do you get trained? How do you jumped on?
I think that's like that episode of Regular Show where they have to go get their stuntman's license for that kid's birthday party. And they're just getting the hell beat out of them. And they're like, go on without me, bro.
But that's even still, like, just too much. Like, okay, I understand, okay, you're trained to do the athletic stuff and try to make sure you're not hurting somebody, but, like, there was, like, okay, so I know there's botched moments where things don't go the way that they're planned and someone does get hurt.
Mm-hmm.
But when you got someone like Mick Foley, who gets thrown off of a cell onto a table, and he's just like, we did it, and then he comes back next week like, oh, this is crazy. That's inhuman.
Well, because how tall is the Hell in a Cell? Like, how tall is the cell?
Let us look. Tall enough for me to be like, yo.
It's got to be at least 30 feet, at a minimum. Because I would say that the ring probably stands about, I don't know, like just the ring, not counting like the posts or anything. Like the floor level of the ring is probably 6, maybe 6 feet would be my guess.
So the original cell was 16 feet. So what he got thrown off for was about bigger than like an average house size, like over some story. But nowadays, the more robust version, per the Googs, 20 feet.
That's a long way to fall.
Yeah, and to land on a table with like wires and computers and all that.
Yeah, just
like I feel like if you land on a mat, probably not as bad. Still hurts because that's 20 feet just falling. Just your pure body velocity. You're not getting slammed. You're just thrown off. But if you land on something that's not soft, like you land on a table, and you just go, oh,
and then you're back, like, because obviously, wrestling is fake. I don't mean to offend any rednecks or redneck anime fans out there.
Shake my head, B.
But as someone who appreciates what it is and what it does for people, there's no way that you could fake that, because they're not wearing pads.
Well, and sometimes they are, but I read about this because I was like, well, they wear the knee pads and stuff. They read that the only reason they wear that is to avoid getting burned when they slide in the ring. That way they don't get their knees all burnt up, dog.
Well, yeah, because it sounds kind of bougie, but I think a 20-foot fall wouldn't hurt as bad as rug burned knees.
Okay, so I had looked this up because I wasn't sure, but I'm pretty sure Mick Foley got back up after he got thrown off the Hell in a Cell. I think he climbed back up, and then The Undertaker threw him on tacks. Because Mick Foley put tacks on the bottom of the ring or whatever, and then Undertaker slammed him on there. So this dude got tacks in his body, thrown 20 feet or 16 hours. He got thrown off a house, this and onto a table. And that dude has one of the most successful careers, and he's just having a good time.
For me, what it is there's got to be a point where your adrenaline just kind of... It just stops doing what adrenaline's supposed to do.
No, they're sneaking Advil in. That's what they do.
They've got to be coked out of their minds, dude.
Ric Flair was.
Woo! Well, look at him. I would be coked out of my mind if I looked like that, too.
Dealing, wheeling, son of a gun. Whatever, dude.
I mean, look at dudes like Randy Savage.
Dude, he wasn't coked out. He was Slim Jimmed out, dude.
I think that, and that's more dangerous than cocaine. That's right. You heard it here. You heard it here first, children. Do cocaine before you eat Slim Jims. Otherwise, you crash into a tree. And the next thing you know is you're 6 feet under.
You'll never put the Macho Man 6 feet under.
It turns out Slim Jim's only goal was, they're like, some executive at Slim Jim's probably like, hey man, Randy Savage gives us a good PR because, so many people grew up with him and his product's kind of new. We're going to hit our demographic. But his voice is kind of annoying. Does he talk like that for real? Or he wrestled for so long that he's just in character all the time. And they're like, dude, we got to start adding some stuff to these Slim Jims, dude.
Make his voice better. I just looked this up because I was curious. He was 6'1". So he's probably like, put me 6 feet under, an inch of me will rise to the top. Just imagine you look at his gravestone and his little head's just popping out just the top of it. You go over there, like, pay your respects, and you hear, oh, yeah. I've got you for 3 minutes. 3 minutes of playtime. I get the heck out of it. Like, get me out of this graveyard. You're going nowhere.
Yeah, no, I would not. No, I think... So, it's funny, because obviously wrestlers they're in shape. They're not just like flabby dudes.
No, and even the fat ones.
Even the fat ones, and it's you could kind of compare it to like an offensive lineman in the NFL, where it's like they're big dudes, and yeah, they got some fluff on them, but that doesn't mean that they're not athletic.
Like look at Mark Henry. He said all those records, like being one of the strongest men alive.
Huge.
And and you look at him and you're like, that's just a fat guy. No. This dude's out here like he could bench press.
Dude, he's fake fat.
Dude, he would kill you.
He's fake fat, dude, for real. He's fat to just boost his ego. He's like, yeah, I'm fat, but he's like, little do you know. He's like, I bench press cars in my spare time.
Yeah, and if you guys don't know who Mark Henry is, look him up. Dude has a lot of world records for just strongman stuff. But when you look at him, you're just kind of like, this dude just looks fat.
Yeah, and I think that's the most deceptive kind of strong. There's old man strength where if let's say that we were trying to fight our dads, for some reason It doesn't like your dad could be skinny as hell, but he'll whoop you, dude.
He get his little bony hand out. You be like,
Yeah.
"What are you gonna do?" Next thing you know, you're waking up in
the old man strength literally comes from just anime. Because it's just, all of those old men like Master Roshi and just, Iroh from Avatar and, it's just, they're strong. Because they've spent all of this time just training and they're jacked. They're just the strongest people on the planet and nobody knows.
Dad's been training for me just to pop off at the
Dude, I swear to God, there's no way that dads don't just grow up. Like, they have to train. Like, they find out that, like, their significant other's pregnant, and they're like, that's it, I gotta start training. And they just do dumb shit like throwing, like, bags of sand around, so they can just, like, one-handed grab a 40-pound child and just slam them into the couch.
You can't be a dad until you beat your dad.
Oh man, I don't know about that.
That's why you see all them couples and they're like, we can't get pregnant. I don't know what's wrong with him. That's why he can't beat his dad yet. He doesn't have the ability.
Dude, what if that is like some hidden underlying requirement to be a dad? It's like, not only do you have to have a good sperm count, but you have to be able to whoop your biological dad's ass.
Like, you don't really have to whoop him, but you have to have the ability to whoop him. If you're not at that point, and like your dad can look at you wrong and just knock you out, you don't get a kid.
You don't get a kid.
You don't get it. And that's why you see these people and they're like, "Oh, you just haven't had a kid." We've tried. We just can't do it.
It's like you get those people who are like, we're trying every day.
And if their dad's dead, dude, it's too late.
It's too late. Or if like
then they got to go fight Macho Man in this.
To start the fight, they have to bring 1 gram of cocaine and a 12-pack of Slim Jims.
Put it down there with some sunglasses.
Chant some ancient mantra that's been, that was devised by the Aztecs. Only then can you have a child. But there's a waiting list. There's a waiting list. It's at least 6 months long.
That's right.
You got to reserve your spot with Macho Man.
Macho Man Randy Zombie. He's just waiting for you like, oh yeah, my jaw, hold on.
My jaw fell off.
Oh yeah. Oh wait, so you want to be your dad? Well, I'm going to snip you like a Slim Jim, boy.
And, it's very ironic, R.I.P. Macho Man, but he was snapped like a Slim Jim for sure.
Had a heart attack while driving a Jeep, but that's not what killed him. The crash into the tree is what got him.
Yeah, because you think Macho Man's gonna get wrecked by a heart attack? Hell no.
I bet you he was like just like punching his chest, like, come on, restart. But he was so focused on it.
He's so focused on pounding his own chest, he didn't see the goddamn tree rolling up.
Or he knew he didn't have the force. He was like, if I ram this tree off, that should jumpstart it right here, boy. Jumpstart my heart, just like Motley Crue said.
And then that was the end of it. Macho Man, and
the GOAT.
That segues into. It makes me wonder how many dudes who are in like that sort of business, whether it's wrestling or the UFC or like even boxing, where it's like that's a cause a lot of their problems is because they're just so jacked up on supplements all the time or doing whatever that their hearts just give out.
Well, because we're talking about that. Kimbo died of heart something failure or other. Mm-hmm. But what was he doing? Was he just doing like steroids or like drug?
I would assume that if it's someone like Kimbo,
someone like Kimbo,
a street fighter,
urban.
Well, I mean, he was urban.
Good.
That's not a stereotype. That's a fact.
Good.
Look at where he came from.
Good.
But
he said because Kimbo's
black,
dark white.
He's dark beige. Okay. He's dark tan.
He's Philippines, but
dark.
Further east.
He's Philippine, but just keep going till it gets dark.
Go to South Africa. Go up.
If you're in South Africa, you've gone too far. Turn around.
Zimbabwe or nothing.
But it's like it gets to a point where it's like those dudes just get so old,
Mm-hmm.
and they're probably it's probably just because their bodies can't just take it anymore of being like that juiced up on whatever it is. Which is funny because you have dudes like Ric Flair who treated their body like shit for 20 plus years. And then
drinking, cocaine binge, wrestling, having promiscuous sex with all these women, he's still alive.
And I think that's just that's one of those weird like finalities of life where it's what works for someone doesn't work for everybody.
Well, and I'm gonna go on just out here and say I don't think it matters what you do, but I think it matters about your genes. I think your genetics have everything to do with it, dude.
I could see that, but
because think about it like this: there are some people, their genes they just can't handle the same sugar level. But you see these people in like My 600-Pound Life and all that, and some of them are living full long lives, even while being that unhealthy. Heck, some people are surviving cancer. They might even have cancer, but they'll say they did.
All I'm saying is if no disrespect here, but if your deadline is December and it's May and I still see some things, start asking some questions.
Listen, we're just saying, don't fake cancer.
Don't.
A PSA from the Bruising Bros.
You heard it first here, kids. Don't fake cancer, otherwise you'll lose your friends.
Yeah, and with that being said, back to the genes. Some people get like some people they get the cancer, they can get taken care of, right? But other people, it's just not going to happen. And some people die quicker of the same cancer than other people. I really think it comes down to the genes, you know? Like, that's why they ask you, do you have a history of heart attack in your family?
I could see that, and I think the reason they ask for, like, histories is to see what you're prone to and what you're not prone to. Like, I think they take your your family history, and then when they go in there and you ask, like, they ask you the questions like, do you smoke? Do you drink? Do you exercise? Like that sort of thing. Like they can extrapolate the data of them being like, okay, this person treats their body like absolute shit, and they have a history of heart disease. This person's not on the right track, so this is what I need to do as a medical professional to be like, okay, bam. So you could take someone like Ric Flair, and let's say that in Ric Flair's family, his entire family history, not one heart attack, not one, ever. And maybe that's why he's able to do what he did. That's why he's
coked out.
There could be that. Who knows? It could be, and I guess it could be a whole genes thing too, because maybe, your genes could evolve faster than someone else's genes.
Or maybe,
who knows?
Maybe this is terrible. Maybe Ric Flair does have heart attacks, but then he takes the cocaine to jumpstart him.
He straight up just licks up like a car battery.
That's why he goes down. Like, he puts his head down, not just because he's sniffing, because like the heart attack's coming. He's going down. He goes, oh, woo! And he's back.
I don't think there's any scientific proof that if you're having a heart attack to do cocaine.
Well, I haven't seen the study saying not. Now again. Don't take my word. I don't do this.
We're not medical professionals here.
Yeah, not only are we not medical professionals, we're not druggies.
No.
As far as I know, I don't do any of that stuff. I try to keep myself as sober-minded as possible, minus the occasional brewski. Again, brews and bros, not to be mistaken with that hipster coffee swag, dog. Brews.
But I will say, I've done my fair share of cocaine.
Oh, great! This is the place to find out. This is the place.
But
I hope your parents listen.
They already know.
Good.
I'm an adult. What are they gonna do? Ground me? I pay rent.
Your rent went up to $450, bud. 25 for the coke and 25 because I don't believe Brendan.
Exactly.
You're hanging out with a lie. I'm not, though. Don't do that, young.
And it's just... I can see why people get addicted the way that people do. Mm-hmm. Especially with a drug like cocaine.
Addictive personality.
It is a fun drug, for sure. And it's just like that lady on the TikTok said.
Mm-hmm.
She said, yeah, drugs are awesome. Drugs are fun until they're not.
Well, another part of it is I think some people have some addictive personalities.
Oh, for sure.
So they can get to it really quickly. So, but some people can change that, but they'll still have an addiction, but it'll be something else. So even though they're better, they're like, wait, like, what's his name? Donnie Cates. That's what I'm thinking of. He's a comic book writer.
Mm-hmm.
Now, a lot of the characters in his books, they'll deal with like some kind of a problem, like some kind of a father, family kind of issue thing, some kind of drug addiction, because he had drug addiction problems, right? He since got clean off of that, but his new addiction is what they're saying is his writing. Because where most people write like a book like every 2 weeks or so, he writes 6 a week. 6 comic books a week for Marvel. Big books. Because that's his thing. Like he swapped out the drugs for something more productive, but it's still addictive. Because rather than just I can take my time with this, he's like, I have all these ideas. Boom, 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 boom.
Yeah,
boom, boom,
and,
boom,
and I could see that, and I think having an addictive personality could be a genes thing for sure. Whereas, like, you know, like I know that there's like been studies like with, you know, families that have a history of alcoholism.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you're born into that family, you have a higher chance.
Right.
It's not like a guaranteed thing that, like, if you're born into a if you're Irish, for instance, it's not guaranteed that you're going to be an alcoholic. But
the fact that you're Irish,
but the fact that you're Irish, there's a very strong chance that you're probably going to have some affinity towards alcohol.
And that might just be a cultural thing because of how big it is in the culture.
And
there's a pub on every other street down there.
Well, I mean, it's like here in America. There's a liquor store damn near on every corner.
That's a good point.
But is it an American culture thing, or is it
of
all of the cultures that have come to America?
Well, how old do you have to be to drink in Ireland? Do you know?
I think European drinking laws are kind of weird because it's like if you could, like, I've heard that, like, if you can see over the counter of the bar at, you know, wherever it is, whatever country it is that you're in, you can drink. Or if you're like, so like I knew that it was a law, like I think it still is a law where in Wisconsin, if you're 16 and you're with your legal guardian, you can drink.
Now, according to this, on the Googs, 18 years is the drinking age in Ireland, which means you must be at least 18 years old to buy, attempt to buy, or consume in Ireland. They got 3 years on us.
And I mean, it's funny because like my dad growing up, he missed the cutoff, or he was old enough when they changed the drinking age from 18 to 21. Because, so he was born in 65,
Mm-hmm.
and they changed the drinking age whenever it was that they had done it. But they were like, yeah, if you know, were born after this year, from here on out, you have to be the age of 21 to buy alcohol. But he was telling us that he's like, yeah, we were all grandfathered in. They were like, yeah, if you were born at this time, like, you're going to be grandfathered in because obviously you've already been drinking. And, you know, and I remember when I was in the military, they're huge on trying to not make people alcoholics.
That worked out for him.
It works out some of the time, but a lot of the time it doesn't. And again, it is a cultural thing, especially in the Marine Corps, for instance, because everyone's like, oh, Marine Corps is full of nothing but alcoholics because the whole branch was created in a bar. You know, so it's like, that's our heritage. Like, we're straight up, we were
heritage.
literally, we were born in a bar, you know what I mean? And so,
rather born than conceived.
You know, and so it's one of those things where they had told us, they were like, alcohol is one of those substances that is so dangerous that when you get sent to rehab for alcoholism, they can't just stop giving you alcohol because you'll literally just die. They have to wean you off of alcohol so you don't just die. Whereas, like, other drugs, you know, let's say that tonight I was to leave this area, go find some cocaine, and do a 3-day bender. I could wake up from that 3-day bender, or do whatever, and I could literally just never do cocaine again. I might have some withdrawal symptoms, but nothing so bad to the point where I'd die. And so that's that's a goddamn crazy thing.
Well, and here's the other thing, man. Like, if you had a job where you know that regularly they'll test you for these things, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you'd be like, hey, you know what? I'll get in trouble if I do it. Would you continue to do certain things?
It's funny because the military is a huge proponent of again not. They know that people are going to drink, so they always tell you drink responsibly.
Like the Saki's commercial.
Exactly, like, and it's like it's their way of being like you have that choice. Like no one, like unless it's using the military as the base platform of the conversation, unless it's hazing, where you're being literally forced to drink copious amounts of alcohol, you literally do have the choice. Like you don't have to pound 12 beers with your boy because he's having a bad night.
Mm-hmm.
You can, but no one's forcing you to.
Right.
And so it's one of those things where you can get in trouble with alcohol in the military, right? Just as you can get in trouble with alcohol in any job that you're in.
Right.
Like if I were to show up to work drunk, I hope and pray that you get a warning. Be like, hey man, we're gonna send you home, but if this ever happens again, you're done. And that obviously, you'd hope and pray that you'd have that relationship with your boss.
Well,
but not to cut you off,
good.
but but if it's kind of like speeding.
Mm-hmm.
Are you gonna speed to work even though you know it can get you in trouble, but you're late? Like at that point, whose fault is it? Is it the cop's fault that you're late, or was it your fault because you missed an alarm or whatever? And it's one of those weird situations where it could be your fault, but at the end of the day, like, is it your fault? You know what I mean? And so, or I guess maybe that's not the best analogy. Now that I kind of think about it, but like, people do stuff that they know that will get them in trouble despite the consequences. Everybody, especially adults. I know that if I drink 13 beers before I go to work tomorrow at 5 a.m., I'm going to be hungover. I'm not going to have a good day. I'm going to do it anyway, though. It could get me in trouble, but as long as I show up and I perform, I might not get in trouble. You know what I mean? So I think it's, as an adult, you have that choice of being like, this could get me in trouble, but I'm solid, so I'm going to make that choice anyway.
Well, and the reason why I was bringing it up is because we were talking about UFC. I know so many people get a lot of chances for that stuff that they break it and they get caught all the time. John Jones. John Coke Jones, as I call him, as he always doing something with the coke, or when he got into that hit and run, and then he ran back to the car, grabbed his money, and then ran away again. But he's still in the UFC, and he's still one of the most decorated fighters in the UFC. So do you think he gets more chances than someone else because that's John Jones? Or do you think there's more to it? What do you think? How many chances? Is too many chances for some bums?
You could say the same thing for Conor McGregor too, though.
But how many times has he? I mean, he's done some stupid things.
He's done some stupid things. Don't get me wrong. I don't think he's done near as many as John Jones.
I mean, he just punched an old man.
But punching old men in bars, throwing stuff at a bus before a Khabib fight.
But how much of that it is real? It's not just kayfabe, as they call it. Where they make a fake drama story.
I think with John Jones, 100% real. John Jones definitely seems like the kind of guy that I'm gonna really go out there and I'm gonna really do cocaine, and I'm really gonna do a hit and run.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Conor McGregor, I think because maybe the UFC was starting to kind of wind down, where it's like, okay, maybe where it wasn't as popular as it was.
Like, you're giving us traction right now.
In the mid-2000s, like, 2003, 2004, 2005, that's, at least for me growing up, that was when everybody and their grandma was talking about the UFC.
Was that when Chuck Liddell was in?
That was Chuck Liddell, who the hell, like Randy Couture, like dudes like that.
Yeah.
Like just those big name dudes.
Big dudes.
Literally big name dudes, big dudes who were just out there whooping ass. And, those guys, everybody talked to... I think everybody who was around at that time in my opinion, has to have known who Chuck Liddell, at least at a minimum, who Chuck Liddell was.
Chuck Liddell is the epitome of that little white kid mohawk.
Exactly, and so it's one of those things where it's like there's like very few select fighters where you could be like, oh, like you don't watch the UFC, but like, do you know who this is? And they could be like, oh, okay, I know who that is.
Kind of like you don't watch wrestling, you know who The Rock is.
Exactly.
You know
who
John Cena
is. If you don't watch basketball, you know who Kobe Bryant or Michael Jordan is, or there's just people in each sport
because they're so popular
that
they
transcend the sport because they're well known.
They can take it to a new level because they get so popular. Like Conor McGregor, he got so popular. Like he is a UFC fighter and he's one of the best to do it. I'll say it. He may have lost a few, but he's one of the best. He's entertaining as heck to watch.
And I think, and it sounds like such a dig on the UFC, but I almost am willing to bet that there has to be some staged element to it, just to draw people in.
Like, I'm sure sometimes they do, like when they do the little standoffs. I'm pretty positive sometimes they really are ready to tear each other's head off, or just have some fun. But I think sometimes there are certain fights where they're like, hey, make it look like you're going to kill each other.
Yeah.
We're going to push you back. Because there are some where you're like, there's no way you're going to fight wearing that suit, dude.
Yeah.
There's no way. I don't care how much money you make. You are not about to ruin that suit.
And I'll keep using Conor McGregor as the example. I'm not saying that he faked punching that old man. That does nothing but bad for the UFC and his image. I don't care who you are. I don't care what old man you're faking punching out. No one in their right mind is going to be like, hell yeah, dude, I support someone who beats old people's asses.
How do you think that conversation where you think the old man was like, excuse me, friend, and then he went, alright, who are you talking to, laddie?
He's like, this ain't proper 12, bam, and just punches him right in the face. It's like,
baby, get out the red panties, I knocked out another one.
There's no way that conversation A could go well, and B that it would bring any publicity to the UFC that would be positive.
Well, any publicity is good publicity. Ain't no such thing as bad publicity. That's what I've learned.
I mean,
just think about it like
this. I could see
Hitler's a terrible human being, right? And he's dead. But even with everything we know about him, there are people who are like, they support the dude.
Yeah, those are the people that you don't want to hang out with.
No, but he still got, he has a following. If people didn't know he was out there, he might not have had as much of a following. But you get the point.
For me,
Hitler probably not the example.
For me,
Conor McGregor, Hitler. Is how they compare.
They're the same person. Conor McGregor's out there slaying fighters while
slaying old Irish dude.
I'm not gonna finish.
And
the
Hitler's
joke.
taking Poland. They both got beat by Russians.
Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! I can't believe it. Oh no!
I managed to connect the dots.
It's like that thing. It's like 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, where it's like if you find 6 different people, like you're somehow related to Kevin Bacon. We just found the 6 degrees of how Conor McGregor relates to Hitler.
I'm so happy I was able
Oh
to
man.
Full circle.
That's too much. That's too much for me.
I saw the depression on your face when I brought it up. You took your glasses off and you're like, no.
Hitler is one of those fine things. It's one of those fine lines that if you cross it, you have one of two ways. But to bring it back a little bit.
Don't mind credit.
To bring it back, I can see where not having any publicity is a bad thing. Like, for instance, if we were to do this podcast and literally there's no one who is listening to it other than us, obviously we're not going to get anywhere. But even the people who are, say, being like, yeah, it's good, but this could be fixed, or straight up, your guys' podcast sucks. And they tell people, just because they have that opinion doesn't mean that it's necessarily going to affect the opinion of people that they're trying to tell about. So I get the idea of that bad press equals good press.
Right.
That, like, there's no such thing as bad publicity because you are getting your name out there. Like, you're getting your brand out there.
Right.
It's, it's like, Jeff Bezos, for instance, getting even more rich during a quarantine
because like the world's first trillionaire?
Something like that, yeah.
Christ.
And it's like,
that girl left. I bet she's really.
And what's absolutely bananas is there's going to be people out there who are like, how did you get rich out of a quarantine, out of a pandemic, out of something that's so devastating to the human race? And it's like, well, how many Amazon packages did you get a week?
Like, and that's the thing, is that's not his fault.
Not at all.
Amazon even has a thing where they're like, medical things are first priority. You guys can still order, but it's going to be delayed. Because I have the Amazon Prime. I have no shame in that. Usually 2-day shipping. My stuff is like minimum of 2 weeks out plus. So people with this knowledge are still using Amazon, but they're using it more so because, well, they can't go to the store. So if anyone gets mad, like, you're making that much money, I'll let it slide, about, hey, if he's not paying taxes, sure, let him have it. He needs to pay taxes. But if you're getting mad because he just happens to own a business that people happen to be using because that's what they have access to, that's not his fault. Especially when he's making a priority to make sure that the medical equipment is sent out first priority.
I have my own opinion on billionaires and what they do with their money. As far as I'm concerned, it's their business. It's their money. They've earned it. I don't care that Jeff Bezos may not know how to, pack a box of dildos in a warehouse. I don't care. I'm being dead serious. For me, as a CEO, if you don't know how to pack a box full of orders for just using Amazon, it'd be like the head of the U.S. Postal Service getting $1 billion because, your mail is taxed through stamps and stuff like that, and you're upset at him because he doesn't know how to, hand deliver a letter.
Right.
If you don't know how to do that, you're dumb. If Jeff Bezos doesn't know how to go into a warehouse and pack a box, I understand that there's other logistical things that he may not necessarily know, but if he can run a business like fucking Amazon with success, I'm pretty sure it's going to take him maybe a couple of hours, if that, to learn the logistics of how this gets sent from over here, we take it, blah, blah, blah. Whatever happens. I don't care. He can be that rich. I really don't care. As far as I'm concerned, I don't care if he doesn't pay taxes either. It's not my fault. It's not, and it's no one in the country's fault. It's no one in the country's fault that he found a loophole in the tax code that allows him to not pay taxes.
It's like giving to charity. You don't got to
pay as much as you exactly. And if you're making $1 trillion a year at a minimum, and you're donating, even let's just say that, obviously he's worth $1 trillion.
$100 million to charity.
$100 million of charity. What the? That's chump change to them.
And you're not even, you do $100 million. You're like, oh, here you go. I'll give $1 million to all the charities.
It'll never be enough. And so, funny enough, I was listening to the newest Joe Rogan Elon Musk podcast, and so Elon Musk is obviously giving up all of his possessions. Like, he's not going to own a house anymore. Like, he's not going to own any homes anymore. He's getting rid of all of these physical possessions that he has. And so when he's telling Joe Rogan about it, he was talking about, he's like, it's an attack vector. He's like, people will just latch onto that. He's like, I could literally give away 99% of my net worth, and it would never be enough because I didn't give away that 1%. And he's like, so it's pointless.
And that's the other thing is, like, Elon Musk has done a lot for the community, science, and everything as a whole. But it's weird because Elon Musk got big from what? PayPal?
From PayPal. That's how he got rich.
And think about it. He made a service that people don't have to use. They just use it. And then they're mad at him because he made money off of it. But if those same people made that money, guarantee they would not be doing the same thing.
And that's why I obviously and that's why they say that money changes people. Mm-hmm. That when you do get rich, a lot of people tend to forget where they can't where they come from, and they forget their roots and they change, and they're not really a nice person. And I get that, and I can see where that stereotype comes into play and where it's coming from, because yes, money does change people. Mm-hmm. If let's just use this quarantine as an example. You're not making a whole lot of money, so you're a different person now than you are when you have a job and when you're constantly bringing in that paycheck.
Right.
Now, scale that up to you're making
FU money,
$100 million a month, at least. Who knows what those who knows what that does to people?
You gotta get bored, because
you have to get bored.
Because you're not gonna want to work.
You could never spend that much money in your life. I wouldn't want to work. If I was Jeff Bezos, I wouldn't want to work. There's no way. I wouldn't give a fuck what was happening.
But he still is, huh?
But
he's still making improvements and doing extra stuff, opening businesses, and I mean, it's a labor job, but you know what you're getting into when you work at Amazon. It's all on the paper.
And for me, I think with the whole thing with his whole labor thing with the warehouses, where it's we're being treated unfairly. It's I could see where they're coming from, because in a capitalistic society, that's just how it happens. But I could also see that the fact that there are labor laws, there's no way. And I think from a practicality standpoint, I don't see that there's any way that could happen. I could see you being shafted at your job, yes, because it happens to all kinds of people.
Where it's at an arcade we work.
Exactly, at. it's we need you to stay a couple of hours late. Mm-hmm. Don't worry, we'll pay you, or don't worry, we'll get you on the back end, and you just don't get caught up on the back end. It happens all the time. I can understand being upset about it. It's happened to me before, but to the point where it's there's, people are getting crippled back here, or whatever the hell it was that was happening. Mm-hmm. For the labor laws, I don't see any way. It's not like, Jeff Bezos is walking around paying OSHA off.
Well, and the other thing is, again, you can't please everybody, dude.
You literally can't.
Because you'll see someone who's in a position and they're just hey, I'm going to help out these hospitals. And then some other person why did you help so-and-so?
That literally happened to Elon Musk.
Exactly.
With the ventilators on CNN. He said, but we did try to give them to them, and they said that they didn't need them. Or whatever it was what had happened. And it's it's so strange that
I think
those are the people that you'd attack. Is because, they have the money, which means they must have some sort of power, because obviously people associate money with power. Mm. So, it's they have to have some sort of power in the way that things happen.
And I think that people are not as mad about the fact that someone's being helped, but that they themselves are not being helped.
Oh, for sure. Because people are selfish.
You help so-and-so, but you can't help me? And it's listen.
It's I can't help everybody, and it's even if I did help everybody, someone else is going to complain.
Yeah. Just like you're complaining now. Well, their complaint doesn't matter. Well, they think your complaint doesn't matter. So, to me, you both ain't nothing. And to kind of throw that back then, money and everything, do you think Floyd Mayweather would be the same cocky dude if he didn't have all that money from his boxing career?
He'd be some nerd. I can almost guarantee it.
Because he went to the Olympics, because I know he was boxing, right? But he didn't even win the gold in the Olympics. But he was undefeated in his professional boxing career after that. That's the one he lost was in the Olympics. He lost it. Mm-hmm. Comes back, does his thing, does a professional career, doesn't lose a match, starts making this crazy amount of money, and he's just I don't care.
I wouldn't care either. It's one of those weird things. It's for me, it's always been interesting to see people who are because like I know you and I have had this conversation,
Mm-hmm.
and I know that you said that if I had money,
Mm-hmm.
I would make sure that the people in my life that I care about were taken care of.
Yes.
And I'm not trying to knock that by any means, because I know you enough to know that that's exactly what you would do.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas I think other people who say that, who say grew up poor, would be like, oh no, I'd be cheap, like I would do this or I would do that.
No, you wouldn't.
No, you wouldn't.
You would not be cheap.
It's like one of those scenarios where it's like you don't know how you're gonna act until you're in that situation. It's like, oh, I would kill this person or I would do this, and then that situation comes up and nothing happens.
Well, and that's why people always ask me, if you have superpowers, would you be a villain or a hero? And I'm like, well, I'd like to say I'd be a hero, but I wouldn't know until I have that opportunity.
Exactly. Like, I don't know. I might be a bad guy. I don't know.
And it's not because I want to be a bad guy, at least right now.
It might be more fun.
But
Who
it
knows?
just might be something that happens where I just be like, whoa, like that movie Chronicle, when that one turd gets those powers and starts...
Yeah,
and then they're like, hey, quit doing it.
Or it's like, or like you could, like even the movie Hancock. He had superpowers. He could have used them for good. He didn't really want to.
He got drunk and threw a whale.
Exactly. Exactly. He wanted to live his life, and yet it's when people associate, especially things like money, to this hero status.
But
they always end up turning those people into the villain.
They get so disappointed. They're like, "Hey, you have powers. Why didn't you help me? Like, I can't help everyone."
It's like even Bill Gates. The amount of money that Bill Gates donates to charity every year and pumps into research and whatever it is that Bill Gates spends his goddamn money on,
mm-hmm.
That's A, his business, and B, he's doing things with his money.
Mm-hmm.
Let me. His money.
Not your taxpayer dollars. His what?
His money.
His personal what?
His personal money that he has done whatever with.
Uh-huh.
You can't get mad. How could you get mad at Bill Gates for being like, okay, you only donated $800 billion this year. Why not all $100 billion? Whereas it's like, okay, well, you got a $1,200 stimulus check. Why did only 1,000 of that go towards your debt? Where'd that other $200 go? Did you really need those rims?
Like,
did you really need a new Xbox? Did you really need a new TV? It's like, you can't judge one person on what they do with their money, and then when you're called out for doing the same shit for your money, be like, well, it's my money. They're the same thing. You can't have it both ways, buddy.
Hey, there's a wise man in the Bible who talked about that by the name of Jesus Christ, when he says, hey, homie, and I'm paraphrasing this heavily, but he said, hey, homie, you got that plank in your eye. Quit worrying about the speck in old boy's eye. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's what it is. Everyone's so worried about what everyone else is doing that they just like can't focus on their own stuff.
But that's the funny thing. Those are the same people, 9 times out of 10, who are saying, mind your business. What I do in my life is none of your concern. But they're the same people who are like, I'm upset that Jeff Bezos is going to be a trillionaire.
Why?
I'm upset that, Bernie Sanders didn't, win the nomination because you don't hold the same values that I do. Or whatever the case may be. It's the people who shout the loudest, in my opinion, the people who are the loudest are normally the dumbest people on the planet.
Or those people who are upset that mom and pop shop went out of business while they were at Walmart.
Exactly.
Like, you didn't have to shop at Walmart. Well, Walmart has the better pricing. Yeah, but don't be sad that mom and pop didn't go out because you didn't want to spend the extra dollar on the quality product. You wanted to go and get the big chain stuff. I'm guilty of it, but I mean...
I'm guilty of it, but at the same time, I know how to balance things.
Yeah, I do go to a lot. So, shout out to my boy Andrew, who owns a comic book shop called The Iron Lion.
The Iron Lion.
I go and I will support him any day of the week. Before I go get any kind of figure anywhere else, he's where I want to go first. I'm like, listen, because I collect those figures, Pops, I like to see him first. And be like, hey, love supporting it. And he does such a great job. You know what I'm saying? There's a Walmart literally like behind where his shop
literally
is.
Behind where he works.
But he's just like, hey man, he makes it a community. He makes it an effort. He makes it fun. And it's like...
But that's the cool thing about participating in a small business. Like, I work at a small business.
Yes, you do.
Like, I work, like, the place that I work at is literally a local gym. And it's crazy to see how big the community is without realizing that there's a real community outside of the gym. Like, outside of the gym, I would never think that those same people who are in the gym would ever talk to anyone who goes there. But they come to the gym, and everybody knows who everybody is.
And the funny thing is, your gym is still going to be open after this.
And
Gold's Gym ain't.
Gold's Gym isn't. 24-Hour Fitness isn't. Or they're kind of on the fence, but...
Maybe Planet Fitness might be because they're so darn cheap that everyone just keeps it going.
And it's one of those things that, like, people want to say that, oh, I support local businesses until it's times like these. Mm-hmm. This is the perfect time to support a local business.
But no, you're mad that Jeff Bezos is a trillionaire because you
don't have $1 trillion.
Exactly. And I'll be guilty, but I'm not complaining about being a trillionaire. I'm like, that's cool, good for you, man. Get your paper. I'm trying to get my paper too.
And I think there's a very fine line between who those people are and who those people aren't. Because there's some people who are like, yeah, he's a trillionaire, that's awesome. He used the system to his advantage. Mm-hmm. That's great. It's just like with the tax code. He used the tax code to his advantage. Does it suck that he doesn't pay his taxes more or less? Yes. It's not your fault, and it's not my fault or his fault that he found a way through the tax code.
Yeah.
Don't blame someone for being smarter than you. If
they don't like that when people just don't like when people are outsmarted than them, because then they feel like,
because obviously no one likes to feel like they're dumb. I get it. I don't like to feel like I'm dumb.
Which is why you can just do what I do and just play it off.
I literally just play it off.
I go, haha, yeah, I know.
It's like, yeah, no, that's what I said.
Although there are sometimes where I really do pretend to be dumb just for the sake of just for
comedic laughs. Yeah. I'll literally pretend to be the stupidest person on the planet.
Yeah, because sometimes being smart sucks. There are moments where I don't want to be smart.
I actually had a buddy who said something like that. He's like, pretending to be dumb is fun. Being smart sucks, because when you're smart, people look at you differently. Whether they want answers or they think you're pompous. Either way, you're not getting talked to.
Yeah, because
if you at least pretend to be dumb, you can relate to people.
Yeah. And the other thing is, like, if you're smart about certain subjects, sometimes people won't want to talk to you because they'll know that they might be wrong and that, you might try to correct them. But some people don't want to be corrected. They want to be ignorant.
Yeah, they don't want to be corrected, or it's people who they don't know how to be right. You know what I mean? Where it's
like a sore winner.
Yeah, it's like, I'm right, you're wrong, you're a dumbass. And it's not that they're saying those things. Yes, there are people out there who say those things, but in the grand scheme of things, it's how they're saying it. They're just very pompous and condescending about how they're right. And it's like, I don't want to fucking be with someone who's always right. And it's like, you kind of tie it into the whole happy wife, happy life thing. Mm-hmm. Look, I understand keeping your woman happy and keeping her entertained and keeping her, whatever. But you can't... She can't always be right in every single situation, because then you, as the other person, you're not going to feel very good. You're not going to want to be, like, you don't want to be involved, because you won't feel like you should be involved. Like, it's like, oh, you're right, I'm wrong, and that's degrading, as far as I'm concerned. To always be, like, on the wrong side of things.
And I think that's part of it. We live in a culture where everybody wants to speak, but nobody wants to listen. So you can't have a civil discussion without someone thinking you're calling them wrong and just trying to argue with them. When you're just trying to have a discussion, whether it's politics, monetary gains, or just anything in general, from PlayStation to Xbox, people just think that you want to attack who they are personally, just based off of an opinion, because you just want to open their mind and say, I don't personally think that way either. But why do you think that way?
And I think what it is like I think the internet has kind of tainted that, whereas everybody thinks their opinion is dead ass facts because they have found a group of people who agree with them, and you can't. It's kind of a touchy subject, but we'll okay. Maybe I won't go there just yet. But something like being a conservative versus being a liberal, both sides are so far-fetched within themselves that you could never convince a conservative to become liberal, and you could never convince a liberal to become conservative. Mm-hmm. And it's like talking to a stone wall. It's literally like yelling at a brick wall, because it's like your point's not getting across. And I think that's why dudes like Ben Shapiro, Charlie Kirk, that dumb bitch who shit her pants at Penn State or wherever it was that she shit her pants.
Gross.
Literally, I've seen
that guy. What's his name?
Milo Yiannopoulos.
No, he's the UK guy. The Canadian one, Steven Crowder.
Steven Crowder.
Steven Crowder.
So dudes like that are the conservative versions of all of those SJWs that not a lot of people like. Mm-hmm. That's all they're there to do. Is they're not there to debate people. They're not there to change people's minds. Especially dudes like Steven Crowder, they're not there to change people's minds. He doesn't want his fucking mind changed. He says that, so he seems more of like a centrist who just, kind of maybe leans a little bit more towards the conservative side, but, they're for me, those aren't people who, those are the people who shout the loudest, but don't care what anybody else's opinion are. Mm-hmm. Because at the end of the day, you're literally talking to a stone wall. So, using gay marriage as an example, let's say that Steven Crowder is against it. Mm-hmm. If he's against it, there's not a single way in hell that you're going to convince him that he's wrong. Mm-hmm. That's just what he believes. Whether it's who he was raised by, whether it was the friends that he was surrounded by, his teachers, whatever. Whoever was part of his upbringing, you're not going to change his mind. Yes, your mind can be changed. You can realize certain things about the past, about yourself, and move forward from those things. But at the end of the day, you're not really going to be able to change someone's mind. And I think that's the dumb thing with the whole Steven Crowder thing, is because, don't get me wrong, I think the people who go to his things and straight up just yell at him, I think they're stupid. I think they're just like him, but they just don't realize it.
They're equally as wrong.
But I think him, or like people like that, or like Candace Owens, and they put themselves in these positions, and what are they doing? Playing the victim. Because all I wanted to do was talk about my ideas, but I'm being censored, and I'm this, and I'm that, and I'm that. And what is that? It's the exact same thing that the liberals are doing. I'm the victim. I was attacked by Ben Shapiro and his fucking cronies by their views. And it's just, it's very odd that people just can't mind their business.
So, let me do the fun recap here. Wrestling takes a lot out of you. The UFC is crazy. People be making the most money for just crazy things, and politics suck ass.
Politics do suck ass.
Super suck. And people who are fans of a politician and not someone who just likes the way someone thinks your ideas, but you're an actual fan, you're a tool bag.
Straight up tool.
If you can say I'm a fan of, I don't want to listen to what you have to say.
Nope.
I will be ignorant in my independent status here and think I am better than you if you say, well, I'm a fan of XYZ, whether that be Trump, that be Biden, that be Obama, that be Bush, whoever. You say you're a fan of them, done so.
Doesn't matter. It's dumb.
There's no need for it. Suck. I love you guys.
I love our fans. That's what I love.
54. We made 54.
54 subscribers.
How many the Spotify. We still working the kinks out on that one.
Spotify is still kind of a little bit weird. I think maybe it's just like that could be an algorithm thing. I'm not 100% sure. You would definitely have to just share it. We'll try to figure something out and let you guys know.
And we're still working out on different audio things, video stuff. We really want to do more with that YouTube, but right now we're figuring out all the kinks before we put anything up there for you.
But honestly, straight up 54 subscribers. I know it's not a huge number, but to us that's huge. I never thought that we would ever cross 50.
10.
And honestly, straight up, like it's baffling. I remember when I refreshed the page and I told you it was the same thing with the Spotify thing. I started to get giddy, dude. I got excited.
We'll have to do a special event if this gets to 100. We'll do something special
For sure.
We'll pie your dad.
So
we'll pour dip spit in his Coke bottle.
What we're probably gonna do is we'll probably come up with some merch ideas. I'd say maybe at 100 subscribers.
Yeah, give someone a free T-shirt.
Give a free T-shirt. Free T-shirt.
Cool. And do an Instagram post wearing the T-shirt.
Yeah, something like that. So keep spreading the word, whether it's through YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, on Spotify.
And if you do go on YouTube and sub, hit the bell, hit the icons, hit the subs, hit the likes.
Likes, comment, all of that stuff. Obviously, there will be links down in the description for everything. So keep on listening. We'll be here next week. Don't
know what we're gonna talk about next week, but we'll figure it out by that point.
We'll figure it out by next Friday. But in the wise words of someone dumb and famous, anything's possible with a small loan of $1 million.
That's how Dana White bought the UFC.
So, with all that being said, hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be back next week. See you guys.
Goodbye, friend.